Namaste. Good morning for those of you in India and good afternoon for those of you in Australia. My name is Jim Verghese. I'm the National Chair of the Australia-India Business Council, and it's really my pleasure today to moderate this session on shaping the future of agriculture, particularly with our two countries between India and Australia. So let me begin first by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we're meeting here today in Perth and other parts of Australia. I should also like to pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I extend the respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders peoples here today in our nation in Australia. The AIBC is very pleased to be hosting this webinar. It is part of our mission. We were established in 1986 and we were founded to foster bilateral relations between India and Australia. We're the only premier non-profit organization with a mission to promote trade dialogue between India and Australia through nurturing and maintaining close relationships, both here and in India, with the federal and state governments across our country here, and also in India, the diplomatic cooperation and industry bodies. We're on about business to business. Very specifically with agriculture, it is an important pillar of the Australian and Indian economies with shared opportunities and challenges. The bilateral cooperation in agriculture and water resources management was included in the recent comprehensive strategic partnership between Australia and India following the virtual meeting of Prime Minister Modi of India and Prime Minister Morrison of Australia that was held in June this year. And to be part of this huge agribusiness opportunity and collaborative strategy is very encouraging today. And I can say so also as a former Queensland Government Director General of Primary Industries, this is something that is really very important to the primary industry sector in both our countries. Despite COVID-19, the agribusiness sector in both Australia and India are demonstrating growth patterns which will have a positive impact on the economies of both our countries. For example, India's manufacturing sector is one of the largest in the world, and its output is expected to reach US $535 billion by 2025-26. This event today will showcase ongoing world-class research and development in agribusiness and innovation in smart agriculture by leading organizations in both Australia and India. And what better person to take us through and welcome you than our National Industry Chair for Agribusiness, Con Livisianis. And I'd like him now to give the welcome and an overview of the webinar. Over to you, Con, and his profile is on the screen for you. Con. Just while waiting for Con, you can see that he's got a great background in this area.
Okay, here we go.
Over to you, Con.
Now that I was on mute, apologies. Just like you, Jim, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and community. I pay my respects to them and their cultures and to elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to all of our speakers and viewers today to the third AIBC Agribusiness Chapter webinar on shaping the future of agribusiness through innovation. To ensure that we keep to the tight schedule, each speaker and their bio slide will be introduced one at a time by Jim. Our sponsor for this webinar is EY, Ernst & Young, and their agribusiness leader for Oceania, Richard Catter, will be our first speaker. Recent international economic jolts have highlighted the need for businesses in Australia and India to forge closer ties. Discount this opportunity at your own peril. The enormous size of the market in India will be the magnetic field, and the availability of the Australian agribusiness expertise will be the conductor. In most of my talks, I have this tendency of focusing on two words: food and water. The technology and innovation that is built around this simple connection will have an enduring influence on the shaping of the future of agribusiness. The Australia-India Business Council Agribusiness Chapter 2 weeks ago attended a meeting in Canberra with the Biosecurity Plant Division of the Department of Agriculture, where we witnessed the enthusiasm of the Australian government to manage the different standards that exist between Australia and India. Signs are showing that Australia and India are indeed collaborating. As mentioned earlier, our first speaker, Richard Catter, leads the Agricultural Performance Improvement Practice at EY, is an agricultural economist born and raised in North Queensland, Australia, who will address us on sustainable agriculture and better decision making. Our second speaker, Dr. K.S. Subramanian, Director of Research, NABARD Chair, Professor at Tamil Nadu University, Coimbatore in India, will address us on nanotechnology in agriculture. And our third speaker, Dr. S.D. Sivakumar, Professor and Head of the Department of Social Sciences at Anbil Dhammalingam Agricultural College and Research Institute in Tiruchirappalli in India, will address us on agribusiness strategy, entrepreneurship and marketing management leads to the Directorate of Agribusiness Development. Our fourth speaker, Dr. Peter Cull, Director at ICT International in Armidale, Australia, will address us on plant, soil and environmental monitoring solutions and agribusiness supply chains. Our fifth speaker group will be Mr. Konstantin Tsunis, Mr. Kushal Polapal, and Mr. Bijil Subhash, co-founders of Switch to Engineering in Sydney, Australia, who will address us on the conversion of wastewater into hydrogen and its application in agriculture. Our sixth and final speaker will be Mr. Sachin Zagadi, Managing Director and CEO of Magadashak Centre for Agribusiness Development in Pune, India, who will address us on how the centre supports young entrepreneurs in agriculture. I would like to highlight some key statistics on India. By 2035, India is projected to be the third largest economy in the world. By 2025, 1/5 of the world's working age population will be Indian. By 2030, 51% of Indian households will be middle income or higher, up from 24% in 2018, contributing to a quadrupling of consumer spending by 2030. The value of agri-food consumption in India is predicted to double between 2019 and 2050. Cooperation and collaboration between our two nations will allow businesses on both sides to take advantage of the impending opportunities. This is a true B2B landscape. We should not forget the opportunity to make in India. It is an opportunity for Australian businesses that are clean and green, with knowledge and skills, to take their IP to India, to find their long-term joint venture partner and establish a central business that can distribute not only in India, but to that region of the world. The time to meet engagement is now, particularly with the Australian government's implementation of the India Economic Strategy. Australia has a competitive advantage and shows it in its clean and green status, knowledge, skills and infrastructure, counter-seasonality and proximity to India. So take advantage of it and trust in its willingness to form a permanent long-term relationship. Keep in touch with us at the Australia-India Business Council for further updates, as there are clear signs of a significant positive shift in the Australia-India relationship. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Con. That's a very, very good introduction from Con, our National Industry Chair for Agribusiness. It's now my pleasure to introduce Richard Carter, who is the Director of Business Consulting for Ernst & Young. And can I also thank Ernst & Young for being a sponsor for today's event. So over to you, Richard.
Thanks very much, Jim. Thank you very much, Con, and thank you to the AICB for the opportunity to present today. It's always just quite humbling to look at that photo of myself only 5 years ago, looking a hell of a lot younger and fitter than I am today. But hopefully I've learned a little bit that I can share with you in the next little period of time. what I'd like to do today is talk about better decision making in ag, and it's an area that we're doing a lot of work on at EY. We go into a lot of clients that essentially just want to improve performance, and there's an enormous amount of tech innovation and digital ag out there. But I fear there's probably a lot of things that the primary producer can do initially that will allow them to make step change in their productivity and profitability on farm. If we look at the sort of situation that everyone in the world is in at the moment, and I think it's probably quite exaggerated in Australia and India, there's sort of three areas. It's around climatic change, market change, and consumer change. So climatic change is around the increased severity and likelihood of extreme weather events, so floods, fires, droughts. Market change is the change in demand for product, so the type of product that people are consuming, things like goji berries and quinoa, and in Australia we're beginning to eat a lot of lentils and things like that that have been traditionally eaten in India in massive volumes for hundreds of years. And then consumer change, and consumer change is obviously around channels to market and how people are consuming products and purchasing products and everything else. So that's an enormous amount of change that a primary producer has to deal with. And primary producers, and I am going to make a gross generalization, are very traditional and often adverse to change. They work very hard and operate on slim margins, which means that they don't have the capacity in terms of time in the day, and often don't have the capability to be able to sit back, take in all the information that's at their fingertips, and make really informed strategic decisions around what they're going to produce in the next season, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. And I think there's an enormous opportunity in the sector. And I obviously know the Australian agricultural sector a lot better than I know the Indian agricultural sector, but I would put a lot of money on them being very similar in this regard. There's a lot of opportunity to help the primary producer make better decisions. And when I say better decisions, they're around improving the triple bottom line sustainability. So primarily it's around economic and environmental sustainability. And then I think social sustainability would follow very closely behind. And I think there is, and there's a PhD in this, if any of the academics are listening, I think there's a high correlation between environmental sustainability and long-term economic sustainability in agriculture. It's as simple as if you over graze your country, the next season it's not going to be as productive, right? So that's bad on the environment and bad on you economically. The main sort of factors or variables around making better decisions, we believe, for a primary producer are things like soil type, topography, irrigation, water availability and allocation, climatic conditions, on-farm IoT with all the sensors and everything else, weather forecasts, and then commodity pricing data. What we're talking about is not enormous innovation, because at the end of the day, a lot of this information is already available. The Australian ag departments, both state and federal, have an enormous amount of information that's often PDF documents on websites. The primary producer is not going to go and spend hours going through all these websites and all these PDF documents to get out the information they need to make a decision. So I think there's an enormous opportunity for that information and data to be consolidated on a digital tool where the primary producer goes in and actually gets a level of advice or decision or support around what's the best decision, what's the best options, production types, etc., for their specific block of land in its specific location in the specific current market conditions. And I think if they can make those better decisions with the information that's available, there will be a distinct step change in productivity and performance and economic outcomes, both for the primary producer, but then also the broader economy. And I do think, if we look at Australia and India and our economies, and specifically double down on agriculture, I think there's a hell of a lot of benefit in collaboration and sharing of knowledge and technology and everything else. So, Jim, that's probably it from me. I know we've got questions later on, so I'll sort of wait for that. But thank you very much for the opportunity. It's an absolute privilege for EY to be involved in this event and the council more broadly. And obviously, this topic specifically is very, very dear to my heart. And I had the fortune of spending 3 weeks in India a few years ago. And I tell you what, I'll be looking forward to going back once the border is open. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Richard. We really appreciated that address, and I'm sure you're going to have that opportunity to go to India in the near future. Can I now introduce Dr. Subramanian? He, of course, is the NABAT Chair of Professor Tamil Nadu Agricultural University, and he's going to share with us the research activities and outcomes of Tamil Nadu University, Agricultural University, and he has a very impressive profile that is on your screen. So over to you, Dr. Subramanian.
Good morning, Jim and Con. Thank you for the opportunity given to me. And I just briefly go through the university, Tamil Nadu Agricultural University, what we are doing. And we are one of the oldest and most innovative universities in the country. Can I have the next slide, please? And we've been doing lots of work, and we closely work with the Australian universities as well. And I briefly go through what are the activities we do and where do we go from here. Next slide, please. We have, this is the way we grew up in the past 150 years. And we started off, Tamil Nadu Agricultural University existed from 1971. Earlier it was a school in Chennai, 1868. Thereafter, 1906, the Britishers built this university in 1906. We are about 115 years old. And now the next year is going to be golden jubilee year of the university. Certainly this partnership would help. Next. We have, this university is one of the, we have 77 state agriculture universities in the country. And we are within 3, ranked within 3. And we get highest civil, the award, Krishi Karman Award, 5 times we received it. For higher production of agriculture production. Sometimes we produce more of grains, oil seeds, pulses, and so on. We are one of the best universities. Whatever I present, this is truly reflecting what the Indian agriculture is about. Next. The Prime Minister of India gave the award. So TNAU is one of the, I said it is one of the oldest universities. This is one of the university where we have a good network of research organizations. And as the director of research, we have 27 agriculture associations, 12 horticulture associations, we have 14 directorates, 14 colleges, and we have lots of research activities going on. We, as a director of research, I promote internationalization of research, and we've opened up. And as somebody was mentioning about the Prime Minister Vivo program, I am one of the panelists in that program, and we can help you in connecting Indian institutes under that program. Next. And next slide, please. Just to go through 3 or 4 slides on what we accomplished in the past 100 years or so. This particular slide shows we work on varieties of crops, starting from rice, millets, maize, pulses, oil seeds, sugarcane, fodder, cotton, mushroom, and so on. So far, 850 more varieties have been released. And this particular picture indicates there's lots of scope for Australian universities or research organizations to get connected. So you name the crop when we have it. This particular picture shows that. And so far we have released 854 crop varieties, improved varieties in the past 100 years. Next, we should, next slide, please. We show you horticulture. Sorry, this is one of the areas of mutual interest for us. We have therapeutic rice. Some of the rice varieties we are developing has a medicinal value, anti-diabetic, because diabetes is a growing concern across the globe. And we have varieties with anti-diabetic properties. We have a Kauni rice which is being developed. And these are the heat tolerance, herbicide tolerance variety, high photosynthetic efficiency. I think these are the common interest Australian universities can help us. Because Australia and India, we share something common. What are the problems they exist in Australia? We do have the problem as well. And this slide, you just to make a note of it, we have a very big biotechnology center, and we can get connected. And these are the areas of interest for us. Next. And we also have the horticulture, and we work on fruits, vegetables, onions, tapioca, medicinal plant, and tree species. Again, there is lots of varieties have been released in those crops. So these 2 or 3 slides indicate that TNAU is a multi-crop research center, and any crop, any areas of research is interest to us. So we open up a wide range of activities of the university so that we can establish research linkage with TNAU and Australian organizations. Next. And next slide, please. But we have a crop management technologies as well, and one of the interesting thing we need to work in India. India is in Tamil Nadu, the state I come from. We are most water-starved state. We are looking at drip irrigation. We have integrated farming with the IFS, that is integrated farming system for rainfed agriculture, which is very popular in Australia. The penning, which is regaining in India as well. And if you think about it, and TNAU has developed a wide range of products like crop boosters, micronutrients, bioinoculant, organic practices, and weather-based advisories. So these are the crop management practices what we prescribe to the people of Tamil Nadu, as well our universities supplying these inputs across the country. Next. So I think I have one more slide on the general one, and I'll come to nanotech in a minute time. And we promote high density planting. I think Dr. Sivakumar is currently sitting in one of the colleges now, and where high density planting is very popular. So which means we plant more number of trees. We do the crop canopy management in a such a way that how a mango tree can be cultivated, a small one, so that you can simply pluck the fruits from the ground. And this is the way the traditional trees are so big. It's very difficult to do the cultural operations. And this is the way it was. This is our vice chancellor. And you look at here, this is a mango tree. Usually it is very big. And here it is shown the fruits are close to the ground. So this is one of the technology we promote. And we would expect some help from Australian universities to study more on this. Next. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. This is there are 3 or 4 important invasive pests threatening Indian agriculture. Particularly, our universities given lots of importance for fall armyworm, which originally come from United States, then enter into Africa. Now it is India, which is badly affecting the maize crop. And we are working on that. Coconut rugose whitefly is another threatening pest. Cassava mealybug. These are the invasive pests. It's all introduced from other countries. And we want technology development with Australian universities. Next. Next slide, please. And I think this is another interesting and very important areas of research is the mechanization. And though India is thickly populated, we have 1.3 billion people in India, and 800 million people still depend on agriculture. We do not have people to work in the field. And we want machineries for ploughing, planting, weeding, automated seedling dipping, or a seedling planter in the field, or a miniaturized version of it. If somebody can help in mechanization, complete mechanization in agriculture, it is of great interest to us. Next. Next slide, please. I run through quickly so that I can spend 1 or 2 minutes on nanotechnology. The value addition, India is known for fruits, vegetables, grains. We have wide range of fruits and vegetables are being cultivated. The grains are cultivated, and we have this number of products. I think our director, Agribusiness, will speak more on that. And one of the interesting product which we have is rice analog. It looks like rice, but it is not rice. It is made of millet. So what we do with the millets, the children are not eating. So millets are rich in nutrients. They are not taking. So what we do, we make an analog, and it is being promoted, and it is also, we are ready to commercialize. So these are the number of products we produce one of the colleges, Community Science College in Madurai. They do all sort of products in their college. Next, and next slide, please. This is one Jim wanted me to, or Kon wanted me to speak on this. And nanotechnology and the TNAU started in the year 2010 as a founder head of nanotechnology. We have undergraduate program, we have PG and PhD program in nanotechnology as well. We try to use nanotechnology in agriculture. This is a overview of the laboratory. And this is one of the referral centers for nanotechnology research in the country. In fact, the Department of Biotechnology set the guideline, and I'm one of the members involved in this. So the nanotech initiative is fairly recent. Recently, we conducted a Prime Minister Vibe program in which we scan through across the globe, and we don't see much. Next slide, please. Scientists working in nanotechnology. I have 2 more slides to go. Nano-Diagnostics, these are our work that are being done, and somebody was mentioning quick diagnostic tools are necessary. We have leaf moisture, nitrogen, plant virus. These are the development that are going on in our university, and they are all nearing completion of the product, and it is ready for commercialization. So these are the products that are being developed in TNAU. Next, and I heard one Canadian project where India, as rightly said, we produce more of fruits and vegetables. They are wasted. If you could develop a nanotechnology to preserve them, and it is very great help. And we involved Canadian universities to develop a nano spray, a spray that can help during the storage. We also developed a nano sticker. And this is the one yesterday somebody was mentioning about. I got the award for a nano fertilizer. This is what the award is about. So I developed a small pellet which can help nourish the crop effectively without imbalanced nutrition. We also have the nanofiber to deliver nutrients to the crop. So a whole range of nano products are ready for commercialization. I think this partnership will help to go further. As I said, the country has also developed guidelines for nano products used in the country, and certainly anybody interested to work in this area will have a linkage with you. And it's a very great opportunity for me to share my thought. I think these are the things I just want to show to you in this forum for consideration. Certainly, I just opened up various areas in a short period of 8 minutes or so, and further queries I can address in the panel discussion. Next slide, I think I have last one. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, previous one, please. We also introduced, as I said, labor as a problem. We started working in drone technology, and we use a drone as well, satellite imageries for health status. And this particular cyclone happened in 18, and we detected the number of farms affected within a 2 days time. And next, I think almost I'm done. So we also work with the remote sensing and geographic information system. We got a soil doctor where touch and deliver type of information. Any spot in the state will get the soil health status with the help of soil app. So we developed this, and we have wide range of product under remote sensing and GIS. This is typically a smart farming Richard was mentioning, and we have the technology with us for Indian agriculture. Next. I think that's all I just want to say it. Sorry, I was rushing a little bit to open up various areas of interest from TNAU. This will give a glimpse of information to the Australian, scientists or others who can have the sense of what exactly TNA is working, where exactly we can collaborate. Thank you very much for the opportunity given. My colleague will speak, Dr. Sivakumar, next. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Subramanian. That's a very good, comprehensive, and also sharing the innovation in nanotechnology and other areas. I think that that's of great interest to our audience and of course to your colleagues on the panel. Just now, my pleasure to ask Dr. Sivakumar, who is the Director of Agribusiness at the Tamil Nadu Agricultural University, to share with us his perspective following up from Dr. Subramanian. Over to you, Dr. Sivakumar.
Yes, thank you, and good evening to participants from Australia and India. I'm here to briefly present about what our directorate is doing with regard to business development in Tamil Nadu, and then I will talk about what kind of changes are happening in the state and central government policies, so that how friendly we are becoming. I think I've sent my slides. If it could be available, made available, I think it would be good, or I can share from here. Vishal, I can do it from here?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
You might just want to speak to the slide as you're trying to do it, so we maximize the time.
Yeah. The Directorate of Agribusiness Development mainly is about business development, facilitating entrepreneurs in agribusiness. So that's our major thing. So our key area is we have incubation centers across Tamil Nadu. In the last 10 years, we have established about 8 incubation centers across Tamil Nadu Agricultural University. The main purpose is to focus on product development, working with FPOs and other business people, providing business services. So that is what we are doing there, and then we conduct a lot of competitions to identify new products, innovations from rural youth and also students. We are working with the central government and the state government to provide grants for the startups. So at the main campus Coimbatore, we have one funded by Department of Science and Technology, where we are funding pre-seed funding for innovators up to 5 lakhs. And then we also have a seed funding for startups through the central government. We also work with one more central agency for providing fellowships for innovators for 1 year, within which period they have to develop products and so on. So, and we have one incubation center at Madurai in Tamil Nadu, which is exclusively focusing on farmer producer organizations and the farmers groups. So their job is to guide them, provide them business services, help them develop business plan so that they can add value to their product, and then they would be able to sell directly to the market. So the state and the central government also are concentrating more on establishing these farmer producer organizations, not only as an aggregation point for raw material, for raw produce, but also value addition, and also taking them along with the value chain so that they can directly connect to the buyers, either consumers or large retail chains, or even exporters or buyers in other countries. So TNAU, Directorate of Agribusiness Development, would be able to facilitate any linkages with the farmer producer organization, so that we can export to Australia, and also we can guide these farmer producer organizations in building the value chain, helping them to meet the sanitary and phytosanitary requirements, which are essential for exports. So the other major activity that we do is commercialization of our products, that are technologies that are developed. Dr. Subramaniam talked about a lot of technologies that have been developed, and in the last 5 years, we have been able to commercialize hybrids, where we provide them to the private sector, so they will mass produce and then they would sell. Our varieties and hybrids are across the country. Then technologies, equipments, machineries that are provided. Apart from that, we also enter into consultancy for establishment of large orchards, farms, agribusiness activities. Then we also have a seed consortium through which we go in for mass production of seeds and then distribution to the farmers. So we are there into the entire supply chain, right from the hand-holding services to the farmers, providing quality inputs, technology transfer, and also value addition, and then taking them to the markets. So from A to Z, we are working with the farmers and the entrepreneurs, so that what I would like to convey is that we are in link with the agribusiness people from A to Z, and we would be able to facilitate any linkages with Australia so that requirements of the consumers can be met through our interventions. They also have input production systems within Tamil Nadu Agricultural University to supply good quality inputs to the farmers and agribusiness experts. And we also use this as a capacity building center for rural youth and other people, especially women, under different schemes, so that we could train them and then establish more such quality production centers, input production centers across the state, so that this could be also provided to the farmers, and it ultimately adds value to the output that they produce. Organic farming is gaining importance in Tamil Nadu. So a lot of bio inputs are required, biofertilizers, biocontrol agents, all those things. So these production centers offer capacity building to the entrepreneurs so that they would be able to produce good quality bio inputs and then enable organic farming to grow in a larger way. We also provide training for different kinds of activities like mushroom cultivation, establishment of mushroom farms, smart farming. Large number of smart farms has been established in Tamil Nadu with support from the state government. And the state government is also now implementing various schemes for promoting processing, establishment of primary processing centers, which are managed by the farmer producer companies and which will be trained by Tamil Nadu Agricultural University on technical dimension and also on the managerial dimension. Then that is for raw produce primary processing center. Then also they have value addition programs where subsidies are given to the farmer producer companies to establish processing units so that they can add value in a good manner. So in all these activities, we are also involved as a lead center for providing technology, capacity building of the farmers and entrepreneurs, and also for managerial assistance. Then we have one more component that is going on, that is one district, one crop. So the focus on each district for developing one crop which has got comparative advantage is being focused. So if in my district, it is about coconut. So all coconut farmer producer companies are interlinked to produce good quality coconut, different kinds of value-added products which are required by the different consumers. And then this also can be taken up for exports. So likewise, this kind of aggregation is happening so that we would be able to intervene. Earlier, exporters have to talk to traders, and through traders, they have to purchase all these things. Now, we could facilitate direct purchase from farmer producer organization and also keep an eye on the quality of produce that could be sent abroad. And we also have an agribusiness export consortium cell in Tamil Nadu Agricultural University, mainly to train entrepreneurs and farmers on agri exports and imports, all the guidelines with regard to different countries of export and import, and also facilitate them in developing their products for export markets, linking them to exporters, and also providing other support from agencies like government agencies for certification and all those things, funding, and all those things. So these are the major activities that are going on. I hope I have given an overview. So TNAU and Directorate of Agribusiness Development would be very much interested to work with AIBC to establish such export linkages in any of the crops that can be done from Tamil Nadu and other states. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shivakumar, and giving us those opportunities in agribusiness. And I'd like now to call on Dr. Peter Cull, who is, of course, the Director of ICT International. And he's going to share with us a perspective of plant, soil, and environmental monitoring solutions, and of course, a good insight into the agribusiness supply chain. His profile is there on the screen for you. Over to you, Dr. Peter. Just need to unmute and you're on.
Do I have some slides? Yeah, okay. Next slide. Just to illustrate, we've been in this business for 40 years in agriculture, and we have huge domain knowledge. To say that versus the all the startups. I was involved and in fact responsible for bringing quantitative soil moisture monitoring to Australia. More recently, we realised over time that what was important was to measure the plant, both the water use and the water potential of the plant. And as technology's evolved in the last 3 or 4 years with wireless technology, it is now possible to measure every aspect of the plant and have the data go to the cloud. As I said, we've been in business 40 years, and we now develop this technology in conjunction with the leading scientists around the world, and we export to more than 50 countries, including India. Next slide. What IoT is, or current technology, wireless technology, enables every sensor to be deployed in the appropriate place in the field in this application, and for the data to go to the cloud, and then from the cloud, of course, to your mobile phone. In this application, you can see the tree water use being measured in litres every 10 minutes, the stem diameter, the temperature and humidity to calculate vapor pressure deficit, soil moisture. Here's a node run by a solar panel and the satflometer all going direct to the cloud and then to the mobile phone. In an example, in the Philippines, we have mango growers throughout the length of the Philippines with key mango trees in key districts being intensively monitored, and the data goes to the cloud and all of the village watches that mango tree on their mobile phone and then makes decisions about their own mango production. The Philippines government wants to develop an export mango industry. Next slide. This is the question to you people. How much water does this tree use? The critical issue is you must measure the plant, because the plant is the ultimate transducer, integrating the soil moisture and integrating the atmospheric demand. So we've developed instrumentation that measures the velocity of flow of water in the stem of a tree, typically 20 or 30 centimetres an hour. And from that, you can calculate how many litres of water the tree is using. Next slide. In this example, this is of some almond orchards in southern Australia, a comparative of 2 orchards. This shows you the power of monitoring. In this instance, the water use of the trees are measured every 10 minutes, day after day after day. You can see trees are living organisms. They use high amounts of water on hot days. A few days later, they use low amounts of water. So the leading farmers find that it's far more effective to measure the tree than to measure the soil moisture, and to be able to go with the variability of the tree's water use and to irrigate accordingly. In this particular example, there were 3 hot days here at this time of the year. You can see the tree continues to use water at night. It's desperate for water, 3 litres per hour at night. The tree is using 123 litres per day. The farm next door, the trees look green in both cases. If you drive by, all looks happy. But if you start to intensively monitor it, you'll realise that in those 3 days, the next door farm lost half a tonne to the hectare of almonds. $4,000 a hectare was their lost production. So if you're looking at a return on investment from Internet of Things or close monitoring of crops, both have the same inputs: varieties, planting, fertiliser, irrigation. It's all in the timing and the application and responding to the environment. And there's the dollars for you. These are quite common figures that we have with our leading growers. Our biggest grower's got 15,000 hectares monitored in real time. Next slide. Here's an example of what I say the power of 3 experts. Here you've been monitoring the vapor pressure deficit or humidity. Here you are measuring the soil moisture with sensors. Here you are measuring the tree diameter, daily tree shrinkage there. This is sending it all to the cloud from this position here, from that solar panel. This is on your mobile phone. And so you can see precisely what is happening. In this example, high, very dry air, low soil moisture, big stress, 30% fruit drop of the avocados in a 4-day water stress. So again, you can see if you can monitor, you can manage. Next slide, please. So there's some insights for you of what's possible and what is happening with leading farming systems around the world. And what is the situation for us in our business from India? We're frequently being contacted by platform companies, cloud companies, telcos, who all want to move to the cloud, but have no domain knowledge about agriculture and certainly have no instrumentation knowledge. As I say, we have 40 years of doing this inside our business. As the second point says, we can supply sensors, technologies, develop solutions, whether it's farm management, predicting yields and quality outcomes. We do this with companies like Hitachi, with supply chain. We have a lot of fisheries monitoring and shellfish and oyster monitoring programs, supply chain management, and also increasingly in urban trees and urban forest management, monitoring the trees so we can develop better landscapes within cities. So what are the opportunities for us all? The opportunities are to develop long-term collaborative business relationships. I've been in business 40 years, and I know you can, if you spend some time and get to understand the individual and get to understand the problem on the ground, you can develop long-term collaborative relationships. We have some very strong relationships in China, for example. And what ICT is interested in doing is developing such relationships in India. The point being is to be able to contribute to your agriculture and your economy by bringing our technology, building partnerships and relationships, perhaps manufacturing the technology there as alluded to, but certainly adapting it and making it functional to your agriculture. And so that's our interest, and that can be our contribution. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Peter Carl, and sharing your 40 years of experience. I think we're very fortunate that we're able to bring that perspective in as we step up our trade and investment relationship with India on agribusiness. It's now my pleasure to introduce Mr. Konstantin Sunis, who is the co-founder of Switch2, and he will introduce his colleagues as well. And he's going to share with us a very important Switch2 project that looks into wastewater to hydrogen and its application in agriculture. So as you can see from your screen there, you have Konstantin, you've got Kushal, and you've got Bijal. So over to you, Konstantin, and to your team.
Thanks very much, Jim, for the kind introduction, and thank you to the AIBC for the opportunity to talk today. Colleagues, it's great to be here. As Jim mentioned, my name is Konstantin. I'm one of the co-founders of Switch2 Engineering. We're an engineering startup on a quest to convert wastewater into renewable energy. With me today on the panel, we've also got our other co-founders, Kushal Polipalo, who is a sustainability analyst at Deloitte, also our co-founder. And we've also got Bijal Subhash, who is a PhD student like myself at the University of New South Wales. To begin with, to give you a very broad overview of what Switch2 Engineering does, I'd love to show a video about our startup technology and how we operate. So if we could please play that first, and then afterwards I can discuss how that relates to the agricultural sector.
The average beer drinker consumes 85 liters of beer per year, producing 425 liters of wastewater, releasing 600 kilograms of CO2, equivalent to driving a round trip from Sydney to Melbourne. In Australia, we consumed 2 billion liters of beer last year, equivalent to 2.8 megatons of CO2 released. Additionally, 10 billion liters of wastewater was produced, which needs to be paid to be treated by breweries. What if I told you we could process the wastewater and convert it into clean energy? At Switch2, we have developed a catalyst for a device called an electrolyzer, which can process organics within wastewater and convert it into hydrogen, a clean burning fuel. Hydrogen is the fuel you're going to be using when fossil fuels run out. It's clean burning, and in our case, sustainably sourced. the breweries are able to repurpose that hydrogen for heating, transportation, as well as electricity, saving each large brewery up to $1 million in annual operating costs. By doing so, we enable breweries to transition to a circular economy profitably. Our modular technology works in breweries of all size, and due to the versatility of our catalyst, it has application in the wider food and beverages industry as they produce organic-rich wastewater. This is an industry that is responsible for 60% of global CO2 emissions annually. Together, we can change the way the world sees waste, transitioning the FMCG industry towards a circular, sustainable, and fruitful industry. So now, you can get back to enjoying that 85 liters of beer guilt-free.
Great, thank you so much for watching. I want to start by talking a little bit
The
about
average
how the technology relates to the agricultural sector and how the sector can really unlock the value from hydrogen. So as you would have seen, hydrogen is a combustible gas. You can sort of think of it as a natural gas without a carbon footprint. And hydrogen is, of course, made out of one of the most abundant elements in the universe. So firstly, why hydrogen would sort of work in an agricultural setting is because it unlocks the sector coupling between heat and electricity. And what I mean by this is hydrogen is extremely versatile. So since we can use hydrogen as a combustible fuel to generate heat and steam, but at the same time, we can actually use that hydrogen and reconvert it back into electricity to, for example, power pumps in an agricultural setting. And what it means is that if we use renewable energy to generate that hydrogen on site, we can use that renewable energy for a range of applications, not just limited to electricity, which really unlocks the value in the energy mix. The other thing is storage of energy is really an issue in agricultural settings due to the intermittency of renewable energy. So to truly power a farm, we need to be able to store all of the energy that we generate. And at the moment in the market, there are current limitations in terms of batteries, which are able to store vast amounts of energy on the scale required for farms. It's inefficient and expensive on that scale. But at the same time, hydrogen is something that is quite energy efficient and quite cost effective when we store on that energy scale. So we can actually convert that renewable energy into hydrogen and use that as sort of a pseudo battery that works well for the scale that works on farms. The other thing is that hydrogen can actually be stored for very long periods of time in between the seasonal requirements of on and off peak farming periods. At the same time, we can generate hydrogen due to its seasonal availability of renewable energy, for example, during the summer, and use it over the winter. So it can actually be stored for years on end. So we can really unlock the value of hydrogen as an energy source when is required. Another thing that has been really interesting in the development of hydrogen recently in an agricultural settings is that there are quite a few research groups and organizations that are working towards the on-site distributed fertilizer production in rural areas. Hydrogen being one of the precursor chemicals to generate ammonia, which is used in fertilizer, means that if we can use renewable energy to generate hydrogen on site, we can also convert that hydrogen into fertilizer. And this increases the overall profitability and the possible exports in which farms and rural areas can really capitalize on renewable energy. Turning back to our technology and switch to engineering, one of the main value propositions we have is the fact that we can actually generate hydrogen from the wastewater from farms, as opposed to using pure water, which is currently the status quo in terms of hydrogen production. What this means is that we don't need to purify the water to high levels, allowing us to really preserve the scarce resource that pure water is in an agricultural setting. At the same time, we can actually decrease the overall energy required to generate hydrogen by using the wastewater, because our catalyst that we've used in our technology that we've developed actually works to break down that organic rich wastewater much more efficiently than you can with pure water. And at the same time, because you no longer need to purify the water, you can actually decentralize the hydrogen production. So that means that producing hydrogen at a small or medium scale at an individual farming location becomes economically viable. The sorts of waste that we use that go into our electrolyzer vary depending on what sort of industry we're looking at. If we're looking at the organic waste coming from a farm, crop waste or animal waste would probably be what we would process before going into our electrolyzer. At the moment, we're currently in the final stages of lab testing with our electrolyzer. We're looking to go into a pilot scale facility next year, which will be able to produce about 2 kilograms of hydrogen per day, or enough to power 2 domestic houses per day every hour. And as I mentioned before, we've got a great team with us today. We've got Kushal, who's leading the business operations with his experience in the financial sectors in the sustainability and decarbonisation space at Deloitte, and also Bajil and myself, who are PhD students in the Particles and Catalysis Research Group, and we're leading the technical development of our technology. Thank you very much for listening to our presentation today. We're looking to release a white paper later this year or early next year. So if you are interested, please do keep an eye out for that. But we're always welcome to catch up with you and connect to you if you are ready. So thank you very much for listening.
Thanks very much for that very, very good presentation and innovation, and sharing with us your project and also a better understanding of hydrogen. Thank you for that. It's now my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, who is Sachin Zagade, who is the Managing Director and Chief Executive of Margadashashak Center for Agribusiness Development. And he is going to share with us how this center supports the young entrepreneurs in agribusiness development and the opportunity for business-to-business development. And you can see on his profile on the screen that he's well equipped to give us this and share this perspective with us now. So over to you, Sachin. You might just need to unmute.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. And I must... Am I audible now?
Yes, you are. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I must thank first AIBC for giving me an opportunity to showcase the emerging business models that we have been working upon, and how the Indian agribusiness is poised for growth going forward. Before talking about the emerging opportunities, I would like actually to thank all the panelists for sharing the great thoughts that they have been working upon the various fields. So can I have the next slide, please? Next slide, please. Yeah, at Margadashashak Center for Agribusiness Development, we have been into services of consulting to the micro, small, and medium scale enterprises in agribusiness and helping them out in understanding the market and product development. We see actually the great gap between the ideation and conceptualization. There are many sectors in agriculture that we foresee will have great opportunities going forward, but unless and until it is very much important for the startups to have great sense of market, actually what is that they are going to market and how. So first agribusiness trend that I will be talking about, the precision agriculture and automation will be the norm, even among smallholders across the sowing to harvesting value chain. It is very much important actually to have a look at the cost of production for that farmer is actually having. It is quite difficult for farmers to manage the production, having, the great difficulty related to the natural activities and all. So the precision agriculture in India will play a great role. Before 90s, if we have a look at mechanization of power-heavy activities of tilling, harvesting, threshing, tractors, and tillers happened in India. This is how actually the evolution is happening in Indian agriculture. Then mid of 90s, we experienced mechanization of input application for cash and value-added crops like cotton, fruits, and vegetables. And drip irrigation was one of that. Then in 2012, we had the first forecast center, which was set up actually for the drought prediction. And that was the start where actually Indian agriculture started having the innovations. Then we foresee actually in 2021, the entry of 5G, which makes IoT much faster and smoother. So in the mid of somewhere in 2025, we foresee the technology that becomes fully autonomous, social, and varies its application based on advanced analysis done by the AI and machine learning drones, terrestrial robots, IoT-enabled sensors, AI and machine learning-based advisory mean that the farm can be operated by one person, that one of our panelists has already stated the thought on. So, but this is how the precision agriculture is being looked at, a great opportunity in Indian agriculture. Can you next slide, please? Then we foresee a quantum leap in biotechnology, which will produce plants that are most nutritious and resilient and regulate farm health and more efficiently. This is very much important actually in Indian agriculture point of view. So if you see, actually, we had a very successful green revolution. India experienced a very successful green revolution in mid of 60s, where actually we had high yielding varieties, but there was quite a gap between the production and processing activities. We could have gone ahead with having the production in hand with the processing, so as to add the value in various types of agriculture produce being produced. So in 2000 and 2010, first GMO crop, BT cotton, introduced in India and goes on to cover 90% of the all cotton sold by 2020. And what we see actually going forward, because as I said, the cost of input is very high in India. Actually, we have got various types of insects and pest infestation, and farmer is very much in different situation actually to take care of the crops. So precision gene editing and microbial tools provide farmers with the menu of crop varieties they can choose, right, from depending on the local climate, crop conditions, and the customer taste. So the biotechnology, we foresee the biotechnology would be the great business trend going forward by 2030. Next. Next slide, please. This is one more an opportunity as well as the problem with the Indian agriculture that we faced. Between 70s to somewhere 2010, there was a consistent fragmentation of land that happened. So fragmented land holdings and asset ownership will go through widespread consolidation, real and virtual, to achieve the economies of scale for farmholders. It is quite difficult for the farmers point in time to take the decision what crop to go ahead with, having got the very fragmented land, and he's not having a bargaining capacity. Actually, what if he's producing something, he's not been able to sell, having got the very minimum quantities. So there is a good push-up actually that has been given by the NABARD. By 20, there are 7,000 farmer producer organizations registered, helping farmers to take decisions collectively. So by 2030, we foresee actually farms in India go online. Most farmers in India will have holistic digital identities that integrate their financial profiles, the production profiles of their land, and market profiles of blocks and districts they operate in. And there is very much in line with, there is one announcement actually from the Indian central government for one district, one product, a scheme that has been announced recently on the same line. So service providers and buyers will overcome the fragmentation barriers that they have been facing point in time. So we see actually the consolidation of fragmented land holdings and asset ownership, and then the form of social enterprises like self-help groups, farmer producer organizations coming together and making their businesses. Second, next slide, please. This is again one more very important point that even Indian central government is already working upon with the help of TNAU, National Agriculture Markets on electronic platform. Farmers now, with the help of such initiatives, farmers will improve their relationship with the global and local consumers. and offer enhanced safety and quality and improve the income by that way. So between before 1980s, it was unorganized retail in India. Quality control was focused more on the brand's local markets. But in 2010, 2008, we saw this modern retail revolution in India, which became actually the key driver. So how the connection of how the farmer is getting connected with the end consumer is more important that we foresee. Even what we have been doing actually point in time with many startups that we handhold. The product positioning is very much important. Market segmentation is very much important. There are opportunities. There is information, but how do you make use of it is more important. As I could actually recall one question that was asked, that many businesses in India are in tier 3 cities, and how do we take them and help them out to export their produce? So what actually the input from my side would be like, they need a hand-holding. Actually, there is a gap between the ideation and conceptualization. They have got actually all capacities to take the products to global level. But the language is barrier, as somebody said very correctly. Now, we have been trying our best actually to help them out. We have been helping almost 300 plus startups in Maharashtra and in neighboring states. So by 2030, the future of Indian agribusiness, we foresee one more trend, that end-to-end transparency, farm-to-fork connectivity through traceability. Now, every consumer is very much interested in the path followed by the product. The product being processed, when it got harvested, how it is treated, what pesticides were used, what chemicals and synthetic fertilizers were used. Is this particular product is really fit for the family or not? So the traceability concept is helping them out in understanding the complete path followed by the product. So we foresee the traceability assuming a great space going forward. Certification and online farmers, many activities will be online that we foresee. The decade will see the food become an increasingly personal subject for households and establishment as consumers look for high standards of trust. Now, there are many ethical standards that food industry is adopting globally, may it be organic, may it be a fair trade, may it be a supply SADX, may it be a Demeter. There are many bioses. So as I said, it will be the ethical and responsible supply chains that will have a great say in going forward. So can I have next slide, please? Now, this is very important from Indian agribusiness perspective. Agricultural labor will contract and move towards higher product jobs, up in the value chain. Agricultural training will respond and cater to the younger farmers. So the use of IT, usage of will play a great role going forward. So as I spoke in previous slide, there was a fragmentation of land between 70s. Then in mid of 2000, large scale movement of labor was experienced actually from the rural to urban settings. And then we saw the scarcity of labor in Indian agriculture. So by somewhere by 20s, from 2015 to 20s, agri-tech revolution in India, as over 500 agri-tech startups were there with seed or more funding start operations, and they started to scaling up. So by 2030, the trend that we foresee will assume a great space in Indian agribusiness is rural non-farm economy becomes digitized, stimulating a mass entrepreneurship movement around agriculture technologies. Young generation and millennial entrepreneurs with high levels of digital and engagement become the techpreneurs of the tomorrow. So there is a gap point in time in making them aware about the various technologies and various formalities. If we talk about exports, various formalities that are involved in taking products globally. So as we talk to them, actually, we keep on saying that it is a static process and not the dynamic. So they are very much worried about actually how to go ahead with the export, even they have got the very excellent products with them. So export is nothing but the static process and not the dynamic. That is what actually we try to boost their confidence up with, and making them aware about the export procedures followed by various countries. So next slide, please. Then the agribusiness trend 6.
Allocated time. Yeah.
Yeah. So the production of high value outputs such as leafy greens and green vegetables and cruciferous vegetables will become more specialized and protected and have its own dedicated logistics chain. So by 2030, captive fruit and vegetable supply chains for seeds and major ports composed of hybrid vertical farms will be the new norm. So may it be vertical farming, or may it be a greenhouse farming or polyhouse farming, will be the new norm in Indian agriculture. Next slide, please. So food science will pursue consumer centricity, yielding affordable processed products, life diseases, ecological concerns. So in near future, we foresee packaged food products become personalized and diversified, and can be custom made for genetic makeup, nutrient needs, lifestyle choices, and taste preferences. In mass market, residue-free becomes the norm. Residue-free is becoming the norm. So this is again something which is talking about the traceability of your product. How right from origin, what path has been traveled by the product, and customer is more interested in understanding this. I'm done with the presentation, and I thank for all of you for your time.
Thank you very much, Sachin. And as we go over time, it eats into question time. So let me just introduce the Q&A and maybe get Vishal to show you the great interest in this webinar today from the questions that have been asked, and there are quite a few of them. And so what we have undertaken to do, of course, is to answer these questions after the webinar, just to assure our audience today that we do take the fact that you've had good food for thought and asking good questions, as you can see on the screen. We'll only have the opportunity to ask one question or so, but we will make an attempt to answer those questions for you after the webinar. So let me just kick it off, and can I ask the panelists to give me just a 3-sentence answer to the next question. And the question I've got is, given that so many SMEs in India come from Tier B cities, and there is a knowledge, technology, and language barrier for value-added products to be exported from India, how could the AIBC help in bridging the gaps to tap into this export-import market? So let me kick it off with Con. Your 3 sentences answer to that. Con Laviniasa, over to you.
Thanks.
Unmute. Yeah.
Thanks, Jim. The AIBC, as everyone knows, is a B2B, a business to business, and our platform is to make sure that we can connect Indian businesses with Australian businesses in such a way that we can utilise the resources within both Australia and India, where we have people on who can get onto the ground and talk the language that's in that particular sector of the Indian market. I think that, in my words, I'll focus on the language barrier, because I think that's one big one. I walked into that specific issue personally myself over the last 10 years, and I can understand but we have the resources with people both in Australia and India who can work on the ground and help out.
Thanks for that. Richard Catter, your 3-sentence response to that?
I think the AICB can play the matchmaker role and leverage their diversity of membership and languages. And I think, that could be a digital portal that actually facilitates the matchmaking. That would be my answer.
Thank you for that. Dr. Subramanian, your perspective on that?
My perspective would be India has a diverse food product. Certainly, quality control is the #1 priority. We produce a lot, and it is not matching with the exportable quality standards. And if you could improve the quality standard, on-site deduction of residues, on-site deduction of health status of the food, and that will help for exportable product development. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Dr. Shivakumar, your perspective on that question? You'll need to unmute. Yep.
Dr. Subramaniam has said, and audible? Yeah.
Yes.
I endorse. And one more thing is that we need to have that connections between exporters, people from India, so that we can be able to understand what is required in Australia and how we can train them to develop products, build the value chains, use technology for supporting this business.
Thank you for that. And Dr. Peter Cull, your perspective?
I've got no comment really. It's fine, thanks.
You're comfortable with that? All right. Thanks, Peter. Constantine and your team, your comment?
I think I might pass this one to Kushal. He's got a bit more experience that can talk to this.
All right, over to you.
Sure thing, thanks. I think what we as Switch 2 in the journey that we're going right now, we're sort of mapping out the key sort of players within the hydrogen value chain. And I feel that's something that, you know, we can definitely help the Indian Tier B cities to sort of leverage, sort of mapping out, okay, if you generate hydrogen, who you should be speaking to. Okay, once the hydrogen generated, who you know, storing of it, and then the use case of it, how we can sort of communicate and pass on those messages and connections. I think that's something that we can definitely contribute and support.
Thank you so much for that. And Sachin, your 3-sentence comment on it?
Yeah, what I actually see what can be done actually in bridging the gap is understanding actually what language that that product he has developed. Okay, he is good at the systems that he has developed, but he has not been able to communicate it to the target market, having got the language barrier. So I foresee actually that the incubation services actually helping him out in understanding market and bridging the gap of language by offering the licensing services could answer the question better.
Thanks for that. And can I ask Peter Cull a question? And that is a very current one. What may be the change in agribusiness during post-COVID-19 pandemic situation? With your 40 years of experience, you might want to share with us what you might think.
I can just tell you the things I outlined in my resume or my presentation are accelerating at an enormous rate. So I think COVID has brought that on. We all know that we do Zoom more often. But frankly, this whole IoT thing is exploding. And as we're coming out of COVID in Australia, it's almost out of control, the amount of market opportunity there is. And so that will happen when it comes out of out in India as well. Hence, I'm looking for partners because I can see that opportunity coming, and the COVID's accelerated it.
Thank you very much for that. We're coming into the closing end of our webinar, and I'd like to ask Vish Viswanathan, our National Industry Chair for Make in India, who's put an enormous amount of work into making Make in India happen. And Vish, you can see his profile in there. In many ways, it understates the hard work that he does put in. So over to you, Vish, to deliver our vote of thanks.
Good evening, all. Good afternoon to people in India. First of all, it is my privilege to thank all the eminent panelists who have joined us today. In spite of the busy schedules, I particularly appreciate the 2 speakers from Tamil Nadu University, especially when the state is going through a period of cyclone the last 2 days, and I think they put up a special effort to join us. Thank you. First and foremost, I would like to thank our sponsor, Mr. Richard Carter from the Anderson Young. And Anderson Young as an organization has been supporting us for this webinar, and it's really appreciate your coming on board. And we also privileged to have Mr. Simon Yu as our National Treasurer from our Australia-India Business Board. So it gives us a double delight. And now we also have, I'm really thankful to all the panelists. Dr. Subramaniam, as I said, that he has joined us at very short notice, and you have brought an experience and also the vision for the future. And you have highlighted the fact that the collaboration areas in terms of the nano products. So that is very, very useful. It's going to be useful for the future generation. And Dr. Shivakumar, you have brought out important aspect of the innovation and incubation. Thank you so much. And Dr. Peter Cull, and with your 40 years of experience, you have highlighted the opportunities in the Internet of Things in agriculture. It's going to be the future. And the boys, the three boys who are just come on board at short notice, Constantinis and Kushal and Bijal. All of the three people put together this wonderful project, wastewater to hydrogen. And in fact, I had an opportunity to interview them a few months back in some other context. And that's why I thought they will be very useful as a futuristic business opportunity from wastewater to hydrogen in other applications in agriculture. Thank you, gentlemen. And last but least, we have Mr. Sachin Dagare, who is also doing a lot of enterprising things in assisting many small businesses and a hands-on development of the businesses in India, and then taking them to the future. Thank you, Mr. Sachin, and you have also come at a very short notice. And so I'm particularly, we are very, very grateful to all the participants who have registered for this program. And it has been a real collaborative effort in putting together this. And as I see it, India has got opportunities in technologies, and Australia has got opportunities in technologies. So the only key mantra is collaboration for 2021 and beyond. And I would like to also acknowledge the great support from our support team, Vishal, Wendy, and the national team who are behind this, putting together all the information meticulously, working almost 10 to 12 hours a day in putting together all these materials and contacting all the panelists and chasing everyone to make this webinar a great success. And we're looking for a great years ahead in Australia-India Business Council leading this bilateral development in agribusiness. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Vish, for that word of thanks and appreciation. And can I add to that also Kevin Raju, who's our National Partnerships Advisor, who's doing a great job in connecting key relationships. I'd like to end this webinar with asking each of you to share with all of us, the panelists and the audience, 3 words that sum up this webinar for you. And I'll kick it off first because I've got from Constantine and his Switch to team the 3 words that they've selected. And the words they've selected is collaborative, innovative, and future. So let me ask Con, what are your 3 words?
Well, the boys have stolen 2 of my words. Collaboration, innovation, and opportunity.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty good and thoughtful. Richard Catter, your 3 words? Richard there? Richard, if you can unmute and share your 3 words with us. All right, we'll move on to Dr. Subramanian. Your 3 words?
Innovate, invigorate, initiate.
Very good. Dr. Shivakumar, your 3 words?
Linkages, teamwork, and innovation.
Dr. Peter Cull?
I got this wrong. I've just written down crop monitoring IoT. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, the whole part of this is authenticity. Constantine, do you want to add anything to the 3 words of your team, or you're comfortable with what was summarized there?
No, I'm very comfortable. And I think the cultural aspect is something that is extremely important with all of these relationships. And yeah, very much looking forward to seeing how we can build that bridge as much as we can.
Excellent. Session, your 3 words? You there, Session?
Agribusiness, value addition, and yeah, I'm there. Agribusiness,
Okay.
value addition, and collaboration.
Excellent. Vish, your 3 words?
Collaboration, partnership, and participation.
Yeah. Kevin Roger, do you want to add your 3 pence worth?
Sure, I've been thinking hard on this, but what I came out with is Save Our Planet.
Okay. And look, and for me, it is, and it doesn't matter if you repeat the word, the whole idea of this is to give meaning to this webinar, to all of us together. And for me, the 3 words are collaboration, very important. The second one is innovation. And I'll put the 3rd one as determination and persistence, so we can increase the trade and investment in agribusiness between India and Australia. And on that note, I'm pleased to advise you that we're actually going to finish on time. Now, it is something that's very important to our audiences, that they know that when we start these webinars, we finish on time. And we've had some very, very good input today, very thoughtful input. And I can see that from the questions that have been asked. And we have to answer those questions and see how we go. So can I thank each of our panelists again and support the vote of thanks given by Vish, and look forward to sharing the next webinar with you. So I think it's good evening and good afternoon from both in India and here in Australia.
Hi, everyone.
I also wanted to add Mr. Aditya Shaktivel is our intern for the agribusiness. He has put together a lot of work for this. My apologies, I missed his name.
Okay, that's good. We put him in there, and it's exactly virtually on our finish time. So thank you all again, and look forward to following up a webinar like this in the near future.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Namaste.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you.